Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back. This is third part of today's video, April 23rd, 2020. So what we're gonna do in this part of the video is to recap of what we learned so far in Unit 7, grocery shopping. Recap means just going back and then reviewing the entire thing. So but this is going to be a quick recap. So the first thing we learned is in grocery shopping is to identify food items and just identify items that we usually see in the grocery shopping. And then also those food items, or it could be food items or just general merchandise, and then see how they're priced and then how we read them or how we pronounce it. Let's go over them. So number one, food item price. So for the food items, there are a lot of food items that you may already know. So apple, bread, rice, carrot, mango, milk, juice, coffee, chocolate, cookie, sugar, tomato. So these are food items that you should already know, right? And then there are some items that we see in the grocery store, or some not just items, but things or people that we can identify. So we have shopping cart. We use it to put our items in before we purchase things. A cashier is a person who checks out our items that we're going to buy. We have aisle. So if you go to a grocery store, there are always aisles, and then there are signs that saying in aisle number 7 there are flowers, or there are sugars, chips, drinks, or frozen food, and that's how we're able to find what we're looking for. And then in addition to that, there's a word that everyone should know, a section. So I think in the beginning of Unit 7, I told everyone how grocery shopping grocery stores are organized into different sections. So for example, we have a dairy section. Dairy is where any food items that are made with animal milk. So just milk in general, cheese, yogurt is included what we call dairy section. And what about like vegetables and fruits, right? So vegetables and fruits are in a section called produce section. So produce is where it's it is identified as something fresh. So they try to sell all the fresh products, so fresh vegetables and fruits, in the produce section. What else? And then we have general merchandise section. So general merchandise section is where it's just not food items, but you're able to buy drugs. So you can buy your like Advil, Tylenol, and then you can also buy beauty products. You can buy shampoo, lotion. Those are called what we call general merchandise. And because they're not food items, it's something in general that we buy. It could be also pencil, eraser, school items, right? And then there are more sections. So there are frozen food sections. There is deli section, and deli is where we buy items for making a sandwich, or like cheese, sliced meat, and then So I mean, and then I didn't go over every food items because that's very difficult. So I think, and then, oh, we have one more. I forgot to mention it. So, and then we also have a section called ethnic section, and that's where you get your international food. So here we're in America. So when we say ethnic food, we're looking for Asian food, Mexican food, or European food, you know. So if you want those things that we usually don't see in an American shop, we would go, when we enter the grocery store, we would go directly to, or we would try to find a section called ethnic section or international section. Yeah. So those are things that I wanted, or that we learned. And then I'm pretty sure there are more words that you want to learn, but I think you have to find that on your own. And then if you have any questions with pronunciation, you could ask me through texting or email. And then we learn about price, right? So here we have these symbols, and then so this is a symbol for a dollar, this is a symbol for a cent, and this is a pound. So actually, these two are the signs for money. This we use to is for weight measurement, how heavy it is. You know, so if you go to a grocery store, sometimes they have a sign saying, in the like produce section especially, where you pick 6 oranges, right? And then they're like, oh, it's $3.21 per pound, or a pound, right? So they measure how, I know we have 6 oranges, or we purchased, but they measure how much each orange weighs, and they determine how the total cost is going to be. So that's why we have the pound sign symbol. So in general form, so we usually have a dollar sign here, and then we have a dollar here in this section. Here I have a period right here. So this is to show the difference where a dollar, this is where the dollar is stopped, and this is where the cent begins. So this is how we generally read the price, okay? I mean, there are times when it's not just a dollar sign. It could say, for example, it could be written as like this. So this is 69 cents. Okay. For the cent, if it's anything less than a dollar, usually, they use a symbol, a cent. I mean, there are cases where if it's, it could be like this. The 69 cents is like this. Another way of writing this is you have a dollar sign, and then you do, since it's less than a dollar, we put 0, and then it'll be 69. So this is 69 cents, and this is also 69 cents, okay? So you want to write a cent symbol on the right and a dollar sign on the left. And then if it's less than a dollar, you want to have, you want to make sure you have a 0 in front of the dot here, the dot symbol. So it indicates that it's a $0. And now, so I'm gonna, so here, the most important part was how do we pronounce them, or how do we read them? So here, this one, there's a dollar sign, there's $1 here, period, a dot, sorry, and 29. So one way to read this is, we just read it as it goes. So here, this is where we read about the dollars, and this is where we read about the cents. So we have a dollar. Here we can see that there's $1. So we say $1 and 29 cents. 29 cents. One, so we say the dollar first and the cents after. So $1.29. Another way, the second way of saying is 1.29. Here, the difference is we don't have to say the dollar or cents. We don't have to say $1 or 29 cents. We can say 1.29, and people will understand that that means $1.29. Okay, so it's either you say something dollar, something cents, or you don't use them at all. So another example here, this is a dollar sign, 4.01, right? 01. So here, same thing. So we say the dollar first. $4.01. $4.01. Another way of saying this is we take out the dollar and the cent out, then we just say 401. 401. There's a period here. I mean a dot symbol right there. Right? And dot is where it indicates there's a section where this is for dollar and this is for the cent. So, and here another important thing that you need to realize is that here we have $1 and here we have $4. So there's a $1, so it's a singular, so we don't need to have an S. But there are $4, more than one, so we need to add an S here. So this would be $1, and this would be $4. So this is plural and this is singular. But then it also applies to the where the cents are. So here we have 29 cents. So there are 29, so more than 1 cent. So we have to use the plural S. So C-E-N-T-S. But here there's only 1 cent. So we don't have to use we don't have to add the letter S. And then finally here, so we said when we read this, it would be 1.29 or $1.29, right? But now we have this symbol where it's like a slash and pound. This is a pound. So how we read it is one way is same thing, $1.29 all pound or $1.29 per pound. So for 1 pound, that's how much it's gonna cost. Okay. And I think we're gonna do this and then we're gonna go into the next one. Okay, so we just talked about the price. Now we're gonna talk about count and non-count nouns. Okay, so we were talking about count and non-count nouns using food items. So let's go over here. So for count nouns, they can be singular and plural. So let's go over this. So singular, so apple, an apple, a carrot, a mango, a cherry. Those are items that we can count, right? And then there can be more than one. So if they're plural, we add a letter S. So an apple is one thing. If we want more than one apple, it's apples. So we add a letter S here. Same thing with carrot. A carrot and carrots. A mango, mangoes. A cherry and cherries. Here the most important thing is when certain word becomes plural. For example, here we have mango and cherry. It's not just we add the letter S. We have to change it. So here, mangoes, we have to add the letter ES. ES. And for Y, if it ends with a Y, we have to change it to IES. Okay? And this is something that I taught you in in earlier units. So now, so these are something that we can count, right? So what about non-count nouns? Non-count nouns are like water, bread, sugar, milk, rice. It's very difficult to divide them into small pieces, and that's what they are. It's hard to. So for non-count nouns, there are ways that we can still count them, and then we use. During the unit, I said it was a phrase or a measurement tool, but the actual word for the actual word for the way for us to count this non-count items or nouns is called partitive. Partitive. So what's partitive? Here, so water, bread, sugar, milk, soda, rice, water, right? So in order to count them, we use some way to measure them, and those are called partitive. Here for water, we say a bottle of water. For bread, a loaf of bread. For sugar, a bag of sugar. For milk, a carton of milk. Okay? So here I just have water, but it could be a bottle of juice, bottle of soda, a bottle of any kind of liquid. But for a loaf of bread, the loaf, this partitive loaf, or this measuring, I don't want to call it a measuring unit, but it's easier to understand. A loaf is only used for a bread. You cannot use it for sugar or milk or anything. It's a specific partitive for the bread. But if we use a bag, right, a bag of sugar, it can be a bag of coffee, bag of rice. It could be anything. A carton of milk. A carton is also used for not just milk, but another drink, so juice. That's the another one that we want to use. And then so here we have and then I say a here, right? A. So this is a way for us to say it in a singular form. So I want a carton of milk. So I want 1 carton of milk. So if I want more than 1 carton of milk, I can say I want 3 cartons. You add a S here, letter S. So for example, I say, so here's just 1, but if I want 6, then I say 6 cartons of milk. I want 6 cartons of milk, and I got a letter S here. So here a more plural example. 3 cans, so you see S here, and S here. So 3 cans of soda, 12 pounds of rice, 4 bottles of water. So we use partitive to count them in a way, or measure them. So because these are something that we cannot count easily, because it cannot be divided into it can be divided into way smaller pieces. So and we need to know about count and non-count nouns, because sometimes in a grocery store we can ask someone, or when I tell someone else, or like my mother, how much or how many the items that we need. So for when we say how many do we need here, how many do we need, we use the word many for count nouns, count. For non-count nouns, we use how much do we need. So how many carrots do we need? How much rice do we need? Right? But as I said before, if I were more specific, so for example here I said you're able to measure them, or count the non-count nouns. So for example, I can say, how many bags of sugar do we need? Bags of sugar. I know that I'm talking about a sugar, which is a non-count noun. But if I use a partitive, like how many bags do we need? Bags are something that we can count, right? So that's when we use how many. But if I just say, how much rice do we need? I didn't use any partitive, and I just said rice, non-count noun. Then we have to say much. That's the difference. I hope you remember that. And finally, we talked about there is, there are. So we use there is for singular, and then there are for plural. So there is an apple, there are some apples. Or I can say there are 6 apples in the cabinet. So there is an apple, there are some apples in the cabinet. And finally, these are for count nouns. And finally, for the non-count nouns, we use there is. So there is a lot of sugar in the cabinet. There is a lot of sugar in the cabinet. So sugar is a non-count noun. So we say there is. And then another thing, and then the same thing goes back here. If we use partitive so if it was, let's say, 3 cans of soda, then I have to say there are 3 cans of soda in the cabinet. Right? There are ways we can use a plural. We use partitive to make it plural. So here are 3 cans, more than 1 can, right? And then with that, we can ask a question: is there or are there? So is there an apple? Are there any apples? And then for the non-count, you say, are there any sugar? And when we ask a question, so this is a yes or no question, so we either say yes or no. And so if the question is asked with is, then we say yes there is or yes there isn't. The isn't is a negative form of the is. And then if the question starts with are there, then we have to finish with yes or no. There are. Yes, there are, or yes, no, there aren't. So this is what we learned in Unit 7 about grocery shopping. Okay, this is a quick recap, and then we will also review this one more time after we finish Unit 8. Okay. And that's it for this video. Now, in our next video, we're gonna do Unit 8. Okay, thanks for watching.